I just got this miner from Coin Mining Central, who are also sponsoring this video, so there will be an ad for them a little bit later in this video. Now, what I do want to cover in this video though, are essentially my own personal reasons for why I specifically wanted to get, well, this specific miner. But I do want to preface this here by saying that these are, of course, my personal reasons for getting it, and they are specific to me and very likely will not apply in the same way to, you know, your specific situation. And of course, nothing in the video is financial advice by any means. Now, I also want to add here that I genuinely think there are actually better options for miners to get right now other than this one, and I do want to cover those in this video as well. And this video is definitely going to be a lot more rambly than normal, so you can probably just kind of put it on in the background as you would a podcast if you're going to be, you know, doing chores around the house or driving in your car. You won't have to look at the screen or anything, but yeah, let's get into this thing. But with that out of the way, let's unbox this thing quickly and look at what this thing actually is. And all right, there we go. If I hold that up to the camera, will it focus? Will it let you see what it is? Maybe, if we're lucky. So it is the Iceriver AE0. This is an Aleo miner, which gets around 60 mega hash or mega proofs per second, while consuming about 100 watts of power. Let me get this box out of the way quickly. It also comes with a power supply, by the way. All right, here we are. Miner, power supply, all good. So what are my reasons for wanting to get this thing? And well, the very first reason there is that kind of overall, generally right now, the sort of sentiment about these miners is pretty negative. People kind of don't have much faith in that these miners will ROI and turn a profit. And while, you know, they make a pretty good point there, I kind of view it in a way as, you know, if most people are negative about this thing and are going to skip it, therefore, well, it kind of means that less people will buy it, and the, you know, fewer people that get into Aleo mining means more mining rewards for me, who, you know, will have one of these miners. And now, please don't click off the video yet, because that's not the whole, you know, picture. But it does kind of remind me a little bit of that Warren Buffett quote, which is like, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And it does kind of apply maybe to a slight extent here of, you know, if not a lot of people get this thing, that means more mining rewards for those of us who do get it. And it does remind me of that situation when the very first 𝗧𝗧 ASICs were announced by Iceriver, you know, same manufacturer that makes this machine here, where, you know, at that time they were a brand new company that no one had heard about before, and they announced these miners that were going to be super profitable on the 𝗧𝗧 network, and people, you know, across the board essentially said stay away from these miners, and the overall sentiment was really negative. And turns out that the people who got in on the very first few batches of those miners ended up making a very, very significant profit in the end. Now, of course, there are many factors that, you know, are different between that situation and this situation. However, just that overall sentiment is what I'm getting after, where, you know, there was a lot of negativity and people ended up, you know, doing pretty well for themselves there. So, of course, just getting this miner to be a sort of contrarian would be extremely silly and irresponsible, especially if this thing was a bad miner, right? Like, just getting a bad miner to be a contrarian would be extremely stupid. So let's just call that, you know, what it is. But the second reason why I decided to get this thing is because I do have an overall mining strategy when it comes to my personal mining farm, and a very big portion of that strategy is to diversify the farm. Just as you would with any sort of investment portfolio, it's usually considered a much safer and just more responsible investment strategy, I guess, approach to, you know, very much diversify your investments. So be that if you're investing in stocks, it's much better to, instead of putting all of your money into one specific stock, you know, yeah, sure, maybe that stock does go to the moon and you make a lot of money, but most likely it won't, and most likely you'll lose money. But if you spread your investment across, you know, 500 different stock, and those are all, you know, stock in top companies, then you tend to have a much safer and more predictable return on investment. And that's why things like the S&P 500 exists, right? And that is kind of the same approach that I'm trying to have with my mining farm. So to diversify my farm, what do I look for? Well, I look for different machines for different algorithms, but also specifically, I look for good efficiency, because I have a sort of long-term approach to mining where I would much rather be slightly profitable on a majority of my hardware for a long period than very profitable on a few things for a short amount of time. And that is kind of a box that this thing actually ticks for me as well, because, you know, I don't have an unlimited budget when it comes to my mining farm, both for the operational costs, so, you know, paying for electricity out of pocket, but also for the money invested in actually purchasing the hardware to begin with. So when I look for mining equipment, what I tend to look for are, you know, smaller miners that can match the efficiency of the bigger miners for that same algorithm, which is something that, you know, this thing actually does, because it has efficiency pretty much on par with the biggest miners for this same algorithm. And my third and final reason for getting this thing is that if I bring it up on the computer here, you can see that even at my pretty expensive power rate here of 18 cents per kilowatt hour, this thing is actually, you know, significantly profitable. Now it has a, you know, many 100-day ROI, since if we look at it on CoinMine Central's website here, it's about, you know, $1,000, or if you use my little discount code, which is 𝗧𝗜𝗍 Aleo, that brings it down to around $940, including shipping. But still, it is slightly profitable, and that brings me back to that mining strategy of mine, which is just stay slightly profitable for a prolonged period of time with a diverse farm to sort of accumulate a lot of coins to build a big portfolio over time. Now, before we get any further into this, there is a big update for specifically Aleo mining that I do want to bring to your attention, and that is that they are changing their whole mining situation up, essentially. And what I will do is I'll link this video by fellow YouTuber Mining Stacker, who did a really great job covering what is actually going on there. But essentially, Aleo is implementing a sort of stake-to-mine system, a kind of hybrid proof of stake, proof of work system, which essentially means that not just yet, but very soon, you will have to actually stake coins in order to receive your full mining reward. And I see this as kind of a double-edged sword in a way. I think it's both, you know, negative and positive for us miners. Obviously a negative because it means the, you know, barrier to entry to get your full mining rewards is going to be a lot higher. Might be a lot of more centralization, which is bad because you need a certain amount of coin in order to get access to your full mining rewards and so on. Again, Mining Stacker did a much better job covering all of that, so I don't want to just repeat everything that he said. I'd much rather you go check his video out. There are a few things that I do want to cover here, which is if it makes it a lot harder to get your full mining rewards, which it, you know, in theory should, maybe that's a further deterrent for people, you know, from buying these things. And again, if less people buy these things, it does kind of mean more mining, or more, at least more potential mining rewards for those of us who do get a little bit of exposure to Aleo mining. And again, I guess that is kind of my main point here, is that I just want a little bit of exposure to as many mining algorithms as possible, where I can get it in a, you know, efficient manner as to where the efficiency I have in my farm kind of competes with the efficiency of, you know, the big farms that have the full-size ASICs. And something else I want to just quickly cover with this whole stake-to-mine thing is that the reason it seems as to why they are implementing this is because Aleo's coin price is obviously not doing very hot, and they are blaming sell pressure from miners for this. So in, I guess, theory, according to them, implementing this stake-to-mine system should then have a positive impact on the coin price, as it should eliminate the sell pressure coming from miners, and that should then drive the coin price up. Of course, that is pure speculation, both on their part and on my part. But hey, if it's true, then again, that would be another positive for those of us who do get a bit of exposure to Aleo mining and therefore are also stacking this coin. But as I said, I definitely think there are better options in terms of mining gear to get right now other than this thing, and I do want to cover that in this video. But I think first, let's throw it to the little ad read for Coin Mining Central. My personal strategy in mining is to have a diverse farm. A big part of that is having ASIC miners for multiple different algorithms. Not only does that mean less risk, as you're not putting all eggs in one basket, but you're also exposed to the profitability of multiple different coins, which could be very advantageous.
And with that in mind, there are currently two miners in particular that I'm interested in. The first one is the new at-home Dogecoin miner from 𝗬𝗏. Dogecoin miners are always on my radar, as they let you merge mine multiple coins at the same time without using extra power, with more mining rewards coming from new coins being added regularly. And the 𝗬𝗏 miner actually offers top-tier mining efficiency while still being home mining friendly, as it's silent and runs on both 120 and 240 volt power. And the same goes for the second miner I'm currently interested in, which is, well, either the AE1 Lite or the AE0 from Iceriver. They both also have top-tier mining efficiency while still being home mining friendly, but they mine Aleo, which is a smaller coin with a smaller network. And I love getting smaller miners for coins like that in order to diversify my farm, especially when they offer excellent performance like these ones do.
But where can you get these miners from? Well, why not check out this video's sponsor, Coin Mining Central, which is an online store for ASIC miners with an over 6-year track record of overwhelmingly positive customer reviews. They have all the latest and most profitable miners, from silent home miners to full-size ASICs. They can even provide immersion cooling systems and offer great bulk pricing on ASICs.
On top of that, if you're in the US, you can also choose to order directly from their US stock of miners to get even faster delivery and to avoid customs and import charges.
Based in the UK, Coin Mining Central prioritizes great customer support, strict personal detail protection, and free worldwide shipping on all miners with no additional payment fees at checkout. You can also utilize their loyalty and referral programs to save on your next purchase. Plus, use my link down in the video description and code 𝗧𝗏 at checkout for a roughly $130 discount on every miner in your order priced over £1,000.
Like the 𝗬𝗏 miner that I mentioned earlier. Or if you want to get a discount on the Iceriver AE1 Lite or AE0, you can use the code 𝗧𝗏 Aleo instead.
So if you've been wanting to get some ASIC miners, check out that link below together with the code to save on your purchase. All right, so let's wrap this video up by talking about what I believe are some better options in terms of miners to get right now. And let's just start where we already are, which is Aleo miners, right? Because I don't even think that this is the best Aleo miner you can get right now. So let's talk about home miners to start. And if we look at the little AE0, which is the one I have right here, you can see you're getting around 60 mega hash for about $1,000 there, right? Or 940 using the 𝗧𝗏 Aleo discount code. However, pay a little bit more than twice, or I guess after the discount, roughly twice, and you're getting essentially 5 times the hash rate. So double the price, but 5 times the hash rate. And that's kind of a no-brainer, especially considering this thing has the same efficiency as the one that I have here. So definitely worth looking into that one if you are dead set on Aleo mining specifically. And if you want to go even bigger, you can get even more hash rate for your money while retaining that same top tier efficiency, at least as of right now. Of course, there can always be a new miner coming out tomorrow or whenever from a bigger manufacturer with even better efficiency and so on. But you do have the AE2 here, which again is, well, it's actually a little bit more than twice the hash rate for just about twice the price again. So again, you're getting more hash rate, same efficiency for a little bit of a better hash per dollar price there. Now, these are all if you're wanting that top tier efficiency, you know, by the standard of what's available for Aleo mining right now at the very least. If you don't need that, if you have very, very cheap power, for example, then you can of course go for something like the Goldshell AE Max 2, which, you know, half the price there compared to the AE2 by Iceriver, but not exactly half the hash rate. You're getting about 2/3 of the hash rate there. So more hash rate per dollar, but obviously this thing has worse mining efficiency. You can see there 3,200 watts for 540 mega hash versus this one, which gives you 720 mega hash for only 1,300 watts. So definitely way worse efficiency. But if you have very, very cheap power, that doesn't really matter that much. Now, this is all just if you're still dead set on getting Aleo miners, which there are many other options for other algorithms you might rather want to get miners for. You know, Dogecoin is a good example there. So again, if you were kind of looking at the AE0 range of miners for mining at home, a better alternative might just be to get a Dogecoin miner in that same price range and the same kind of product. And a good option then would be the Voltminer D1 Mini. It's roughly the same price there, but instead you are getting pretty close to top tier mining efficiency for Dogecoin, or I should say merge mining, the script algorithm, which lets you merge mine Litecoin with Dogecoin and a whole plethora of other coins all at the same time without using extra power. I've covered that on the channel here a bunch of times. But yeah, there you go, about 500 watts for 2.2 gigahash of Dogecoin mining hash rate. So, and it comes in this same little kind of home miner friendly design here. Now, if you're looking to step it up a little bit in terms of just overall performance, but then also stepping it up in price a little bit, you can of course go for the 𝗬-miner instead, which gives you roughly, well, not exactly 3 times the hash rate, but close to it, for, well, roughly 3 times the price, a little bit less than 3 times the price. But the bigger draw here is that it, you know, gives you more total hash rate. Can of course also just, you know, if you were considering the big boy Aleo miner here for $4,000, you could do the same thing, but for Dogecoin. Now, that's going to be a little bit of a step up in price, but you could go for something like the Antminer L9, of course, which is to this day the very best in terms of Dogecoin mining. So that would be an alternative as well that I probably would consider a bit of a safer option than getting an Aleo miner right now. Of course, none of us can tell the future, so that's kind of a non-statement, but there you go. Finally, I also want to look at Ethereum Classic miners, and specifically, if you're looking for something in that kind of roughly same range in terms of price and at home mining friendly, you do have the new series of iPollo Ethereum Classic miners, which kind of have flown under the radar a little bit, but these are the most efficient, at least from what I can tell, Ethereum Classic miners that are available to buy on the market right now. You have the V2H version here, which gets you, you know, depending on which model you get, between 3.2 and 3.8 gigahash of hash rate for, you know, roughly 500 watts of power consumption, which isn't bad. And, you know, one of the upsides of Ethereum Classic mining, or ET and ETC hash mining, I should say, is that there's a lot of significantly profitable coins that actually use those two algorithms for mining. So you do have a bit of choice there for different coins you can swap around when in terms of mining. Whereas obviously something with like Aleo, there is only one single coin that uses that mining algorithm. So you're a bit more locked in there. Whereas, for example, with Ethereum Classic mining, if one coin goes bust for some reason, you still have other options of other coins you can point your mining hash rate to. And of course, there's a bigger form factor miner there as well, the iPollo V2, which gives you 10 gigahash of hash rate, 1500 watts for about 7,000 versus the smaller one, which gives you about 3 to 4 for 2,400 at 500 watts or so. All right, let me know in the comments if this was my most rambly video to date. I definitely feel like it was. I just kind of got this and I wanted to just have a rant about why I wanted to get it, which I feel like I have done now. I don't think it is the very best miner you can get right now, not by a long shot, but I did have some maybe unique reasons as to why I wanted to get it, you know, personally, and I wanted to share them with you. But I also felt like I should definitely preface it by saying there are better options. Here are some of them. And yeah, I feel like I accomplished all of that. So yeah, rant, ramble, video over. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here watching. If you are, why don't you give the video a thumbs up? It would mean a lot to me. Over on the screen, there's a video. The top one will be YouTube's recommendation for what you should watch next. And below it, I've put my recommendation as for what I think you should watch next. So I guess I'll see you in one of those videos. Thank you again so much for watching.